everybody, welcome to Polymer Clay TV. I'm Elisa, and today I have a really fun project. And I had bought these moleskin notebooks, and normally they're expensive, but I found them at TJ Maxx, and I got a 2-pack for $2. And I'm like, ooh, and they're purple on top of it, which is my favorite color. But anyways, I wanted to make some kind of little cute journal cover for them, and that's what we're going to do today. Here's one that I've already made, and let me show you what it's going to look like. Well, ooh, it's leached into the what do you call it, the wax paper. Feels kind of goopy, but anyways, so you can kind of get the gist here. I didn't need it to cover the whole thing. I kind of wanted it as an accent so the purple could show through because I love the color. So this is what we're going to make, and I started off silk screening the base, and that's what we'll start with here. Let me set this aside. We're going to use this cherry blossom mold that comes with an actual branch in it and a couple different sizes of leaves. Obviously you'll need your normal tools, a rod, something to poke out any air pockets, something to squeegee, or you can use an old credit card to silk screen. You'll need a silk screen. We're using the cherry blossom one today, and that's in our shop at createalong.com. And I'm using the Primo brand clay today, and this color is called Blush, and this is called Bronze. So those are the two colors that I'm going to primarily use today. Of course, I have my blade, and I have this brush, which I'm not really painting anything with the brush. I'm going to use the end of the brush to make texture. And then I'm using a Liquitex acrylic paint. So there you have it. That's pretty much what we're going to be using today. We're going to start off by silk screening. And so let me just clear my area because silk screening can get a little messy. I've already conditioned this bronze color clay out. I've conditioned it and run it through the pasta machine at the 3rd thickest setting. And I've used an entire bar, or most of a bar, there was a little extra here, to roll this out because I wanted it big. Since I'm covering the whole journal, and as you can see, the journal is a little larger, I wanted to make sure that I had enough clay to make it work. So I conditioned a whole bar. So you're going to need a whole bar for this. Okay? Now, the silk screen, as always, the shiny part goes face down onto the clay. And so you want to line it up so that you get your whole design on there. Okay, so once you do that, you can use your rod to roll over it. You want to avoid any kind of air pockets getting beneath actually this, I'm going to get rid of that because that is a little bent and it's not doing things right. So you want a flat sheet to work on. You don't want anything that's got nooks and crannies or whatever in it. So basically you're just going to silk screen like you would any other time. And so I'll show you this because I haven't shown you me silk screening anything in a while. So. And we have so many silk screens in our shop now. Kira has been crazy drawing them, and so definitely check them out at createalong.com because there's a lot of really cool designs. And this is one of them called Cherry Blossom. So we're just going to run the paint across the silk screen, and I'm going heavy. You know, I like to use a lot of paint to make sure that it gets in there, all the little dot, you know, there's little pinholes in the silk screen, and that's what you're doing, is you're dragging the paint across the silk screen so that the paint goes through those little pinholes. But you don't want obviously too much paint to get in there. You want enough so that it leaves the impression without it being gloppy. So you know, you have to practice it, but it really does work out pretty good even on the first try. Look at how gorgeous that is. So there you have that. That's the silk screen part. You have to let this dry completely because you don't want to work with it until it's dried. But one thing I did find out in working with, you know, the clay and the silk screens and letting things sit around, some of the paints will get moist again, especially since I live in Florida and we have high humidity here. You have to take that into consideration because I've had paints get dry completely to the touch, and then a few days later when I decided to go back and work with them, they had gotten sticky and everything smeared. So the idea is let it dry and then work with it shortly after it's dry, so that, you know, it doesn't have a chance if you have a high humid area that you live in. But anyways, go wash your silkscreen, go wash your tools, and we'll move on to the next section. Okay, so our silkscreen is dry now, and what we want to do is we want to cut it out to the size we're going to need. And basically, this is the entire silkscreen. And so I just want to cut off and square the edges, and basically you can do that right where the design ends. So let me just tell you one thing too. We put the name of the, well, we've started to put the name of the silkscreen on the silkscreen, and you may have that come through, you know, you may actually silkscreen it. You can wipe it away while it's still raw, while the clay is still raw, and reuse the clay very easily. So that, don't worry about that. You haven't wasted any clay. Okay, and so let's turn this around a little here so we can cut each side. And you just use your blade, you know, it's like I said, just let it follow the design and you should have a nice straight edge. Even though I'll probably not have a straight edge because I tend to have a hard time with that. But do the best you can. We're not looking for perfection, you know, it's what your hands can do. Okay, and so just finish that up. So now I've got my base piece ready to go. And from here what I did was I added a border, as you can see here. And you just roll out your clay into a long snake, and that's all I did here. Let me just move those, and we'll talk about those next. So just roll your clay out. I like to start in the middle and work it my way out. And as I'm doing this, I'm creating a little grip onto the clay to stretch it, because I want it to be, you know, I don't want it to be this big massive piece, and I want it to be even all the way along my snake. So you can push it together a little if you've got the area is a little thin. Use your fingers to manipulate the clay. Okay, so once you have, you think, enough or close to enough, you want to start wrapping it, and I start with a nice clean edge, and then I start piecing it. And if you can do this all in one fell swoop, you know, then that's great. If you have to do it piece by piece, that's great, whichever works for you. And I think I did the last one piece by piece, so let's do that. I think it'll be easier for you. So you just get your one edge on there, and I do not try to push it on there yet, because I want to make sure that I have all edges the same size before I make sure it's stuck together. So it's probably best that you do it in pieces, and you can miter these corners. And what I mean by miter the corners is you kind of cut it on an angle like that, and then you do that on this side, and then well, did I do that backwards? I might have done it backwards. Hold on a sec. Let me stretch this guy a tiny bit. You gotta go, so if this is going that way, it's got to be cut this way to fit together. I'm working upside down. Hold on. This way. That's the way. Sorry, guys. You'll have to figure it out for yourself. Okay, so then you just continue to piece it, and you would cut it again. Let me cut it this way. Alright. And the leftover pieces or whatever that you have, you're going to be using to make your cherry blossoms. So you have, there's enough here in one bar of clay that you can make cherry blossoms, this whole border, and a small little cane that we're going to make in a second. And so I need it to fit together, so I need to go this way. There we go. And I want to kind of make sure it's even. And there I have that. Let me miter it this way. And one last piece. That's too thick right there. So yeah, I have to make adjustments as you go and make sure, you know, you get it to your liking. So let me miter this corner and fit that together. Same over here, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Now we've got the border going. Let me just do this one last corner. You want to look it over and make sure that it's, you know, the way you want it. Not too thick in areas, not too thin in areas. You know, because once you bake it, then you can't change it, you know. So make sure that it's the way you want it now at this, you know, before you bake it. Alrighty, so that looks good. I've got a nice border. I'll come back and clean all the edges up and stuff. But now I have the basis for creating my whole piece. Okay? And actually this looks pretty good to me. I think I did a decent job on getting it all the same size. So I can go ahead and give it a little, just a little push. I'm not going to go crazy with it so that it adheres to the other clay. We're going to come back and add some texture to it and stuff, so that'll actually help to adhere it. So this is ready to go now, but now we also have the cherry blossoms, and I've gone ahead and pre-molded a couple. Here's the last one. After you put it in your mold, you want to make sure when you pull it out that you clean up any edges that are not cleaned, because the idea is to get it to look like you sculpted these. These are not sculpted, these are made out of a mold, so you know it's going to have lines and ridges. If wherever it is on the mold, you want to make it look as natural and as hand sculpted as possible, because it just looks nicer that way. So that's that. I used 4 of them, and so you also want to sculpt out the branches, or rather mold the branches. So you're going to need 2 of those and 4 of these flowers, and then you're going to need to sculpt out 8 of these small leaves, and 4, actually, yeah, just 2 of the large ones. So I used 2 of these large and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of the small ones. That's what I used on that. So you can go ahead and sculpt those, and you know, we'll put it together at the end. So let me move on to the cane part. Okay, so with the cane, we're going to create a bullseye cane, and you may have already done those. Those are one of the first things you learn when you start working with polymer clay. Bullseyes are one of the easiest canes to make. And let me just give you an idea. You start out with making a tube of the pink color or blush color we used in this case, and we're going to wrap it with the copper, and so that will be the first piece. And so then I'm going to take that and I'm going to roll it down, and I'm going to put 7 of the pieces together and create this piece. So the more you work the clay, here it is bigger. You can see there's 7 segments there. The more you work the clay, the smaller you can go with it. As you can see, you can keep going down in size. So let me show you how to create this simple cane. You would start off with a snake, or rather a tube, whatever you want to call it, of your clay. And in this case, we're using this blush color. So you want to condition it really well. You don't want it to be crumbly. You want it nice and workable. And you can do that just by rolling it on the work surface, rubbing it in your hands, you know, running it through your pasta machine, whatever it is that makes your clay get conditioned and warmed. That's what you want to do. Oh, and by the way, we have this online Facebook group now called Polymer Clay Tribe, and it is free for anybody who wants to join that's interested in polymer clay, and you just go to polymerclaytribe.com. And we just gave away a Never Need. So a lot of people, if you're not familiar with it, you can go to Never, N-E-V-E-R, Need, K-N-E-A-D.com, and see it's a product where it helps you knead the clay, especially if you have arthritis or bad hands or whatever. You definitely check that out. But we just gave away a purple one. I think they're $150, but we gave that away in the tribe, and every time we get 500 members, we're going to give away a prize. So definitely sign up for that. It's free, and a lot going on. Great people we're all meeting each other and getting to know each other, and just a lot of fun. So anyways, you saw me do this. I created my tube, and I created a little flat sheet just by stretching the clay and rolling it out. You can go through your pasta machine. That's totally up to you. I like on my canes for the clay to be a little thicker. So I'm just going to start at the one edge here, and I'm just going to wrap it around, trying to avoid getting any air bubbles in between the two clays. Okay, so I got to the end here, and I've basically created a mark now by pushing it down of where to cut, so I know what to cut off to make this fit. And so now it'll fit right in there. And that's it. And so now I want to work this a little in by rolling it gently. At this point I'm not applying a lot of pressure. What I'm trying to do is trying to get this seam here to meld together. And you can roll it out and push it together. Roll it out, push it together until you get a nice seam, a nice blend rather, so that you can see it's not, it's flat here now. You may see a line there, but that's because of the mica, but it's actually melded together, so that's what you're going for. So at this point now, I can roll this clay out as long as I possibly can or want to, and that's when I'm going to cut 7 segments, okay? And that's how I like to make my bullseyes. I cut 7 segments, so you would need them all to be the same length, and so let's see, if we do them like 2-inch segments, or let me grab a ruler here. We would need 14 inches, so I'm going to need to stretch it a little more. And I can just pull on the clay. So we'll do 7 2-inch segments. So let me get it. I want to cut off my ends, so you got to make sure you have enough, even with your ends cut off. You know. So I think I'll have enough. I only need 14 inches, and this is 12, so I'm good. So every 2 inches I want to cut. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and let me move these out of the way. And actually, I need to stretch this. There we go, because I got the end here. And then one more cut. Okay, there you have it. There's 7 pieces, and they're all pretty much the same. So I'm going to start with one piece, and then I'm going to start piecing these around the one piece. And if you have to stretch it to make it like close to the same size, do that. That works. And I'm just going to continue piecing all the way around, like so. Okay, and you're just applying a little bit of pressure. You don't want to distort these pieces until you have them all. Actually, I have 8 pieces. Okay, I didn't need 8. I cut an extra one. We'll set that aside. Alright, so there you have it. And there's your 7 pieces. Now you want to get this to mold together, so you're going to do this gently. This is not something where you're applying a ton of pressure right now. Light pressure, push it back together. You want to make sure there's no air pockets getting in there. So you want to do this you want to do this lightly. You don't want to like push it out and like maybe, because these could pop out and insert air in there. You don't want to do that. You want gentle here. The idea is just get the clay to meld together into one piece. So you're just going gentle, rolling it back and forth, pushing down until it feels like it's all one solid piece. Okay? And once you have that, you can cut the end off to see what you've got, which should be exactly 7 round pieces now. Okay, so now you've created a bullseye cane. And at this point, you can do anything you want with it. You could even roll it down another time, and then you'd have even more smaller little round circles in there. So you can keep going and going, well, until it distorts. So I mean, you could go one more time with this, I could tell you that much, and you would still see the design. Beyond that, I don't think you could go, because then the design wouldn't be able to be seen anymore. So, anyhow, then you can leave it. You can leave pieces this size. You can roll them down smaller, like I did, and you would just stretch it as you go. Roll it into like a snake, and so then you can decorate your piece any way you want. And there you have it. It's that easy. So let me move this aside again. Bring this guy back. I didn't mold the branches yet, but we can start putting it together. that way. So let's see. Let me quickly mold a branch and show you that, because the branch is a little trickier because it's thin. So what I want to do when I create my branch is I want to create a long snake. So, but I want the snake to be as thin as I can get it, that it's going to fit into the mold. So it's easier to start with a snake, kind of give your clay a torque like so, and insert that there and kind of press it in there. You know, that's the thing about these silicone molds. You can bend them and manipulate them so it makes it easier for you to get the clay where you need it. And so there I have it. I have a little extra, so I'm going to bend that back over in case anything was a little low, because sometimes, you know, you don't have enough clay, or if you have too much you would cut it off. You know, it just depends on what you've got. And you can even roll your rod over it if you want to. And let's peel this back. You've got a beautiful stem for our cherry blossom. And so I just pieced it on here on the bottom. I'm just going to show you this one because, you know, we're running out of time here. This takes a while. And then you could just add your cherry blossoms right on here wherever you think looks pretty. I kind of went in between the little petals. I think I like the way that looked. And then here, let's cut a piece off of our cane that we just created, and that becomes the center of the cherry blossom. And so when you're cutting a cane, you want to use both your hands. I'll show you once again, and I just pieced that on there like so. You can add some powder pigments, whatever you want to do, but when you're cutting a cane, you want to take both hands. That's going to give you the torque, or help you so that it doesn't torque, I should say, and give you more control. That's the word I'm looking for, so that you can just cut straight down. And it's best to have a sharp blade, obviously. So that's it. That's how you would make this wonderful little journal, and you can totally customize it any way you want. I just, for the leaves, I just painted those leaves. I just took, let's see here. Let's just do that one. Do one of them. I just used a little bit of paint and kind of antiqued it, really. So I'll just use this copper here. And just quickly cut it down to size. And then peel it out. And of course clean it up any way you want. And then I came back with some paint, and I put this on my finger. And the reason why I just put it on my finger is because I didn't want a lot of paint. So just a little on your finger and rub it on. And you can leave it like that. That's perfectly fine. But I wanted less paint than that, so I came back and I kind of wiped a little away with. Or you can take your finger. Don't tell anybody I just licked my finger there. And you know, you can make it whatever look you want. That's the awesomeness of this project. So really just have fun with it. Oh, and let me just tell you this texture here on the side, because we talked about the brush here. I just came back and went all the way around it, impressing as I went. Just every, I don't know, maybe 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch apart. And I went all the way around with that. And that's as simple as it was. These pieces right here are just slices off of the first bullseye that I created. You saw I had an extra one. I had created 8 of them. And I just took a slice and then gave it a little push so that it came to be more of like a petal shape, and then pieced it all along and made a bunch of them, as you can see here. So head over to polymerclaytv.com, and I will post all the different things that I've used to create these, and a finished piece too. I gotta bake this. This hasn't been baked. So have fun with it. I'd love to see what you guys make. You can, again, join polymerclaytribe.com, and you can upload photos there and share them with everybody. And it's a lot of fun. So have fun creating your journal covers, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining me.